They ain't know what the data. They ain't know what the data.
Okay, here you go.
Yes.
Greetings, greetings.
Yes, just
Fascinating.
for the record, because we talked about this. Every time start time is Eastern, and you said you prefer Eastern. Every start time is
I'm
Eastern.
sorry I said that. I said that. You're exactly right. Now, my bad.
Uh-huh. Uh
Okay. Now,
all right. So
I listened to the item and it's brilliant comedy. It's what Red Fox did. It's what Richard Pryor did. Chappelle, he does so well. He's taken over as the comedy king. And to an extent, it's not unlike what Dr. Cosby did. So, when is it that any somebody becomes immune from comedic uh, analysis? It was funny, it was on point, and it seems okay when anybody else is the subject. So, how in the world is somebody going to get upset with this? Now, there's a popular cartoon series, adult cartoon series called South Park. There's actually a South Park, Colorado, and the residents of Colorado call it Cartoon City for that reason. And they get on anybody and everybody. And I found it interesting that a number of people who had been enlisted as voices on this series got very offended when turnaround became fair play, and some of the things that was said about other entities, organizations, and people got turned around into rage over similar comments being made about their side. So it's interesting. Turnaround's fair play, and nobody needs to be so thin skinned they can't take a joke. So, I mean, it was
well,
interesting.
I don't think he got. Actually, he didn't get any backlash. Everyone is praising his monologue.
Oh,
He
I'm not
does.
talking about him. I'm
Oh,
talking about the writers. Every one of them needs to be fired.
oh, with the writers' protest. I
Every
wonder.
one of them needs to
Yeah,
be fired.
I
Because
wonder.
if you do anything outside of just, oh, on the scenes reporting or you're making historical commentary, even that, I don't think there's anything that is not going to involve something negative about your group that comes up. So get over it. If you can't handle it, you don't need the job. So they need to fire them and get some more writers. Plus, they didn't need the writers anyway. Chappelle wrote his own stuff. He's always
Right,
done
he
that.
didn't need them. Yeah, exactly. And then two, they should have got rid of the writers anyway because SNL ratings have been tanking. So, and
And wait a minute. Why did he need writers? He didn't. See, that's what they did on his show, which was one of the disputes he had 20 some years ago with Hollywood. He was trying to get some of his homeboys who actually helped him out with the ideas and the writing hired. uh, they said they didn't need anybody, and then he turned around when he got to looking at the paperwork. They were paying people for being writers, and he said, "I've never heard of them, and what did they do that I haven't read that has anything to do with what I put out?" And they were paying their friends.
right. Um, and I wonder if the writers are all LGBTQ or you know what I'm saying? Because I just don't understand. Oh well, if he's going to be the host, then we're going to boycott. And a lot of times they knew that he was going to come in and write his own monologue and skits. So they just did that to get in the press. And if you negativity, sensationalism, sells. So let's put it out there that the writer's going to boycott, and that's going to get more people to watch, right? Um,
No, that would be common sense. That's not what is done in Hollywood. I know.
but this was New York. It's not
I
Hollywood.
had either one or two highest ranked syndicated show out there. It was me and Judy kicking it back and forth, and both of us were stomping on Oprah's way ratings. And but you never heard that about me. And every time I started doing Judy, CBS would change our rating schedule so she could stay ahead. But you see, that's an agenda. They even will go against money making because you see, you have corporate headquarters and the stockholders and the board of directors, and they aren't being told what's actually going on downstream in the organization when it comes to production or what they are
Wait.
producing.
Hold up. Because a lot of times people do plant controversy in the press to get more viewership.
That's not what they're doing here. They have an agenda and they're true believers and they're zealots, and it gets way beyond rational manipulation. Now, I'm not saying they don't, they do, but it's in the name of the agenda. And that's what I would say if I hadn't been exposed to them for 15 years. They did that to generate uh, viewers to ramp up the ratings, but that's not what was done here. See, you have true believers. And when I was out there, they brag about it. Judge, every 8 or 9 people you see out here are on board with the cause. Why are you resisting what we want you to do? No, that's not good for the country.
All right, so I want to play a clip of Dave
Now,
Chappelle.
that's their, let me say this. That's their right and their business to do that. It's America. There's a thing called the First Amendment. But just because somebody exercises their right to speak in support of their own position does not obviate or negate the right of other people to speak in a contrary fashion when they think that agenda impacts their own.
Hmm. Well, I want to play a clip when he started talking, politics, and he started talking about the Republicans, and he started talking about Trump. So let me play this clip real quick. 1 second. It's about 2 minutes.
I'm just being honest with you. I live in Ohio amongst the poor whites. A lot of you don't understand why Trump was so popular, but I get it because I hear it every day. He's very loved. And the reason he's loved is because people in Ohio have never seen somebody like him. He's what I call an honest liar. Well, I'm not joking right now. He's an honest liar. That first debate, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a white male billionaire screaming at the top of his lungs, "This whole system is rigged," he said. And across the stage was a white woman, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, sitting over there looking at him like, "No, it's not." I said, "Now, wait a minute, bro. It's what he said." And the moderator said, "Well, Mr. Trump, if in fact the system is rigged, as you suggest, what would be your evidence?" Remember what he said, bro? He said, "I know the system is rigged because I use it." I said, "God damn." And then he pulled out an Illuminati membership card and chopped a line of cocaine up and put it right at the podium. No one ever heard someone say something that true. And then Hillary Clinton tried to punch him in the taxes. She said, "This man doesn't pay his taxes." He shot right back. "That makes me smart." And then he said, "If you want me to pay my taxes, then change the tax code. But I know you won't, because your friends and your donors enjoy the same tax breaks that I do." And with that, my friends, a star was born. No one had ever seen anything like that. No one had ever seen somebody come from inside of that house, outside, and tell all the commoners, "We are doing everything that you think we are doing," inside of that house.
Right. I wanted to play that clip because he summed up the truth about Trump, and it was brilliant. And
I agree that Trump told on him,
yeah,
and they had to destroy him. See, Hollywood is carefully doing studies on what to do to get your money. They also have an agenda, so they're doing studies to figure out how to do both. Get your money, get your agenda, and part of the agenda is destroying your social fabric. So you will accept their agenda. So in the process of destroying your social fabric, you start glorifying dysfunction, and they glorify it for you. And the truth of the matter is, for the last 120 some years, all over the world, young people have attempted to emulate what they saw in Hollywood, either in the old black and white silent movies, the talkies, or the color movies and television. That's what young people do because they need ideation to fix upon and say that's how I'm supposed to do it. So it may have been black and white folk listening, watching John Wayne movies and deciding to join the army and getting swept up in the nom. It may have been uh, watching Rod O'Neal and Superfly and becoming a drug dealer and moving coke. It
Mhm.
it all gets in there. So they know that and they plan it. And I have been in the corporate hallways of Paramount, which had my show before CBS, and in CBS, and walk down the hallway and pause in front of an open office door, and listen to them in a conference talk about what they're going to do and how they're going to get people to go box office.
Okay, but we're
And
talking
it's
about
not
Donald
pretty.
Trump. We're talking
Yeah, I
about
know, but Trump told on him. See, that's the thing. Trump did not play insider. He came out and said, hey, I know it. I've been using it. I was part of that. This is what they're doing. Somebody needs to tell on him. Now, whether you like him or not, he wasn't lying about what they're actually doing.
right. He was
So,
telling on how the government operates. He was telling
yes,
on the politicians. So,
yes.
um,
And see, it's a thing where you have the government, you have the media that becomes the propaganda engine, and you have the finance industry that sits there and relies upon all of the above to do their thing and keep the peasants, the mob, in check.
so
And Caesar said it. One more thing, Caesar said it 2,000 years ago. Mark Antony asked him, he said, Great Caesar, how do you think the mob is going to react to you being declared dictator for life? He said, give them bread in circuses. Translation, feed them and entertain them, and they won't give a damn.
exactly. Trump entertained us. Now, while he was entertaining us when he did his press conference, when he was doing the debates with Hillary, while he was entertaining us, even after when he became president, gas was low, inflation was low, stocks were high, 401k was blossoming, employment, entrepreneurship, business, even internationally, building a wall, making America strong again, relying less on China and outside sources and start building within, right? Doing all these things that we didn't have to worry about that we're worrying about now, and we're being entertained. Because make no mistake about it, as Americans, we love to be entertained. And I want to finish up with the Dave Chappelle segue into Donald Trump and the Republicans, because Dave Chappelle, I would say, is the last realist entertainer out there. He's clever, he's smart, and he's funny. And he doesn't have to play to the tune like so many entertainer does, right? Because at one point he just gave up his show, walked away from it, and now he works on his own terms. So I love the way he summarizes and paints this picture. Whether he talked about Kyrie, he talked about Kanye, and him and Kanye are really good friends, and Donald Trump and a Republican. So I love the way he summarizes things because it makes sense and it's funny, right? Um, and I appreciate that because that form of art is lost. And I don't see anybody coming behind Dave Chappelle doing what he's doing. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree. And let me say something about that. 45 years ago, I was sitting out in the hallway. I just walked out of Chancery Court, and it was getting absolutely ridiculous. And this old chancellor came out, and I had impressed him with the way I handled myself in his courtroom. And he said, Lawyer Brown, what the hell do you think of that? I said, Your Honor, it was absolutely ridiculous. He said, that's right. He said, but sometimes you got to get a good sense of humor if you want to survive in here and not go crazy. And by the way, let me tell you something. I appreciated the way you tried that case in front of the jury. He said, now, one of the things you need to think about in life is if you want to see a great way of looking at human nature, look at it through the eyes of a good stand-up comic. They will show you things that ordinarily will escape most people's attention. And if you think like that, you can get the point across to the jury. And by the way, you keep them wide awake and entertained while they go to sleep on the other son of a bitch who's boring the hell out of them. Ha ha ha. And he went on about his business. But I took that to heart. And I'll say this, what Chappelle talked about needed to be said because in the context of what I did most of my adult life, almost all of it, for the last half century, was undoing or coping with on somebody's behalf or resolving issues and disputes that came out of people not acting like they're supposed to act. So one of the things that I noticed is that what some people, particularly the Hollywood industry and great numbers of people in the Democratic Party and a few in the Republican Party, they're advocating things that over this half century of me having to be immersed inside of the consequences are actually the driving engines for a lot of what's wrong with our system right now. So, in other words, solutions proposed actually are those things that created the problems in the first place. In other words, let's have more of the same old mess to solve the same old mess. It just doesn't compute. It's like insanity. Einstein said, keep doing the same thing in the same way, producing the same negative result. That's a sign of insanity.
Right. So I want to go into the Republicans' red wedding. Then we're going to talk about the Wakanda Forever, and then I want to open up the panel for people to come up, ask questions or comment. So segueing into midterms. Oh my God, hot mess. There was no red wave. The Republicans dropped the ball. I was actually going to name today's space. What has the Democrats done to help the Black community? I was saying that for next week. However, um, Republican red wedding, they are now turning against Trump. They've been turning against him, but they're just being upfront about it as if they don't need him. They're trying to pin DeSantis versus Trump and saying DeSantis would be a better pick for the presidency. And what I'm saying is, do you idiots, the Republicans, you are idiots, do you idiots realize that Congress is what's important? These midterms were important. Now, you lost the Senate, and I don't know. Now it's a toss up. You may lose the House. Who cares about the presidency when you don't have no type of control in the House or in the Senate, right? So let's just say that the Republicans lose the House because they already lost the Senate. That means complete Democratic control for 2 more years. How much damage is going to be done? But at the same time, you Republicans, you shot yourself in the foot. You keep suppressing Donald Trump and throwing him under the bus, and he's your only ace in the hole, whether you like it or not. And these are the people who are in the suits, the politicians or the lobbyists. The suits think they know what is best for America. And what Trump got right and everybody is getting wrong is you have to listen to the people and give them what they want.
May I
Now,
make a comment on that? Not so much against what you're saying. I have another big offender, the United States Supreme Court. I have never seen such politically unaware and politically inept judges and justices in my life as I am seeing recently on appellate courts and now the U.S. Supreme Court. There is no way they should have issued that Roe v. Wade opinion when they did. They should have even come out and been candid and say, due to the fact that there are midterms coming up, this is entirely too inflammatory, so let's not influence the
yes,
electoral
exactly.
process. The other thing is, somebody on the U.S. Supreme Court should have been raising holy hell when those potential or draft opinions were released. That just is not done, and somebody's head should have rolled. But that goes along with what I'm saying. American justice is becoming something dumped into the hands of people who have no careers dealing with people law. In other words, where there's a real live human being on the other side of the table and not a corporate entity, where you're actually dealing with the problems of humans rather than academically in an ivory tower, and you're doing it theoretically and don't have half a damn clue. That's like a doctor learning medicine and never had a patient or never done an intern or residency thing. And too many of the people on the appellate courts, both state and federal, they got appointed for the wrong purposes. Now, I look back just the other day over the history of the United States Supreme Court, and we've had governors on the Supreme Court, senators, people who had been elected to office, people who had been movers and shakers in the real world, and that's not what you have right now.
Right. And
It's really disturbing, because I read that and I this is
but
what I do for a living, and I go, what in the devil did they just do here? What is wrong?
But I always give the Democrats this credit because they care about power. They care about power, and they will obtain it and keep it by any means necessary. They play dirty, we know that, and they're good at it. And the Republicans know this. Why are you focusing on quote unquote trying to save American souls, trying, to abolish or to strike down Roe versus Wade? Don't you realize a lot of Republican women were upset when you did that? You literally shot yourself in the foot. How can you all of a sudden during midterms have inside fighting about who's going to run in 2024? They have no clue. Now, I don't want to see a alleged president who's a president who's allegedly would have dementia or Alzheimer's, fumbling and stumbling every time he's on the mic. I don't even watch President Joe Biden's press conference because it's just painful. At the same time, I'm pumping my gas and it's $5. Inflation is high. Mortgage rates are high. Food is high, right? But people still went out and vote Democrat. And it's mainly because at the end of the day, no matter what political party you are a part of, women want control of their body. I don't care how conservative, how religious, it has nothing to do with it. This is why I believe in separation of church and state. And the Republicans, for some reason, maybe they're focused on their Fortune 500 companies or their businesses or whatever. Maybe they're focused on that, and now they want to be religious conservative. You're focused on religion and you're not focused on the republic. You're not focused on protecting this constitution. I don't know if they were paid off to kind of pull back or turn their backs on Trump, but you have to let Trump be your front man. Trump was going to announce he was going to run for re-election on Monday, the day before the midterms. They told him, no, don't do it. Everyone did. That was the wrong move. You should have had him announce it, because that would have encouraged people to go out and vote more in the primaries. More people vote in the general election for presidency than they do in the primaries. So this would encourage those who don't vote in the primaries to actually go out and vote Republican for Trump in the battle states. It's that simple. But the problem that the Republicans are having, you're focused on yourself and not the people. At least the Democrats give the people socialism/welfare. Republicans, what are you doing? You want to give us the Holy Bible? No. So and my card changed to Republican. I don't want to be I'm about to change it to independent. I don't want to be a part of this party when you got your head up your ass and you're constantly losing. You constantly getting, outwitted and sucker punched by the Democrats. Come on. If you don't have Trump, you don't have nothing right now. Save DeSantis for 2028.
Well, it might be interesting to having DeSantis as a vice presidential candidate, but that's another thing.
But he would still run in 2028 for presidency. Perfect segue.
Yeah, he can still do that. That would be great. But here's the thing that gets me. When are we going to understand that politics deals with what you have on your table, how you pay for it, where you get it, when you can get it, how much you pay for what you put on your table,
exactly,
what your kids get taught in school, what other things are. Now, when it comes to stuff like abortion, personally, whether or not I find it repugnant, it's not my business what a woman does to her body. And it's kind of screwed up. It's the persons that are supporting the abortion rights also seem to be the ones that want to oppress free speech. It doesn't match up because the two are inextricably combined. The ones that want free speech want to tell a woman what she needs to do with her body. That doesn't match up either. And what I'm looking at is something I learned long ago to get away from. I defended some of the worst fiends ever in all of the homicide cases I tried as a defense lawyer. But my like or dislike for my client didn't have anything to do with me ensuring that he got due process, because that was important for the country as a whole and the people of the community I lived in, because repressing due process is more dangerous in total effect and impact than anything this one clown may have done that I was representing. My job was not to get him off. My job was to ensure that he got due process of law. Now, that said, people get too damn personal now because we've had 50 years of the glorification of the dysfunction of the glories of emotionalism. We used to get taught in elementary, junior high, and high school, as I remember it, to be rational, logical, reasonable, analytical, and objective. But now everybody's taught about their feelings, and you get it, whether it's Darth Vader talking about it, Luke, examine your feelings, or you get somebody that's sitting in the White House talking about feelings. And we need to get away from that and start getting objective, because the rest of the world is starting to drool in anticipation. Oh, they're about to screw their acts up, and we stand waiting in the rings to take over. So we need to get back to a little objectivity here.
And then too, and then also, and then I want to open up. People can start requesting if you want to come up, and then go into Wakanda. But I also want to say this: people, whether you could be an intellect, you could be someone who's running for office, you could be involved in your local politics. It does not matter. The general population here in America, amongst American citizens, they vote on who they like, likability, whether you like it or not. That is the truth. Everybody liked Trump. You either liked him or you hated him. And majority of America liked Trump. And then you had those who loved him. And then you had the ones who despised him, right? But they vote on who they like. Everyone liked and loved Barack Obama. He was charismatic. He was full of shit. But we vote on who we like. Who is DeSantis? Florida loves him, and they should. Who is anybody else? Like, we don't care who won the Republicans, whether it's the Senate or the House. We just know you're a Republican, especially if Trump endorsed you. But listen, Mitch McConnell, you are not popular like Donald Trump. You're not likable like Donald Trump. So if you going on the record bashing Donald Trump or people like him, you're harming your party. Yes, he's egotistical, arrogant, whatever, but the people like him. So people vote on likability first and foremost. So, yeah. So
Dana with the data. Dana with the data.